If decisions feel heavier than they used to, you're not imagining it. You're actually you're not even losing confidence, and you're not getting slower. And also, you're not suddenly bad at leadership. What is happening is the environment has changed, and almost no one explained what that change would do to the human brain. And over the last few years, the workplace didn't just evolve, it accelerated. It's as if it went from Mach 1 to light speed almost overnight. And most leaders, man, they are still trying to operate with systems designed for a world that really no longer exists. For the longest time, I'll tell you, people assumed leadership got harder because of stress or burnout or meetings stacking up or even poor time management. But those explanations, those never fully made sense because many leaders aren't failing, and they're still performing, and still getting results as expected. Yet internally, something feels off. The decision fatigue, they take longer. Mental clarity has been fading, and context switching, it just becomes so exhausting. So even simple choices feel heavier than they should. And that's not weakness. That is the definition of velocity in how we're using it around leadership. And in today's work environment, it's a high velocity work environment. High velocity environments, that's it's not about chaos. It's solely about speed. And when things are happening faster than people can comfortably think, man, messages never stop, and the problems begin to stack without pause. And plans change mid execution, and information seems to arrive continuously. And even when nothing is wrong, everything begins to feel rushed, right? That's the high speed, the high velocity environment. It's like walking on a moving walkway that keeps speeding up faster and faster. You can still walk, but every step takes a little bit more effort just to stay upright. So, to understand what is happening, imagine a simple example. Think about you're playing a video game, and at first, the enemies appear slowly, right? You have time to think, you have time to react, you have time to choose. And then the game speeds up. Now you have more enemies, more targets, less pause time, more choices, and faster consequences. You didn't suddenly get worse at the game, it's the game. It got faster. And that's exactly what is happening today with leadership. High performance, man. High performance breaks when speed outpaces structure. Here's the first thing that most leaders, executives, directors, vice presidents don't realize. High velocity environments don't overwhelm people because they're demanding. They overwhelm people because structure didn't scale with speed. And when velocity increases but structure stays the same, clarity, man, clarity goes out the window. It collapses, and decisions, they just begin to blur, and information piles up, and everything starts flowing upward. Not because people are incompetent, but because the system no longer knows where thinking should live. The result, man, it is constant cognitive taxation, man. Your brain never fully clears, and not because you're stressed. It's because there's no pause built into the system anymore. Another insight: decision fatigue is not emotional, it's architectural. Every decision now carries more variables than it used to. There's politics, reputation, risk, speed, visibility, and all at the same time, man. Your day begins to fragment. And meetings interrupt those strategic thinking times, and messages interrupt your focus. And the urgency just doesn't stop, it interrupts judgment. So clarity doesn't disappear, it just takes longer to arrive. And when your decisions take longer, leaders start doubting themselves. And it's not because they're unsure, but because their thinking system is overloaded. And this is how confidence erodes without performance ever declining. Another insight: high velocity environments turn leaders into processors. Here's the quiet danger. In high velocity environments, leaders slowly stop leading and start processing. They become the routers for information. They become the buffers for tension or approval layer, right? And it stops momentum, and their calendar just fills up. The strategic altitude, being a leader, that suddenly begins to drop. Your presence fades and nothing breaks loudly, but it just slows. And authority doesn't disappear, it concentrates, right? And when authority collapses, inward leadership becomes heavy. And not because responsibility, but because everything depends on you. Man, this is why motivation doesn't fix senior level leadership strain and why productivity often makes it worse. You can't outwork velocity, especially the velocity of today's work environment. You cannot mindset your way out of a structural overload, and you cannot optimize a system that was never designed for the speed you are now operating within. This is why. This is why we created the authority architecture diagnostic. It's not a personality test, it's not a productivity assessment, it's not coaching. It's a structural diagnostic tool designed to answer one question clearly. Is your leadership model still safe to scale in a high velocity environment? If it's not a fit, using this diagnostic tool, you'll know quickly. And if it is, we can talk, because the most dangerous phase of leadership failure isn't collapse. It's when everything still looks fine. As always, please share this video with someone who can benefit, and subscribe and comment. I read all the comments. And most of all, stay strong, and we'll see you in the next video.